Welcome to Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help educate you about narcissistic abuse because your feelings do matter. Hi, and welcome to another podcast of Narc Abuse No More with your host, Dr. and Evangelist K.O. Rich. Thanks for tuning in today. Today is Monday. Yes, it is Monday, May the 1st of 2023. I pray that you've had a blessed, stress-free, narcissistic-free, abuse-free week so far, and that the remainder of this week will continue to be so as well. But if not, we're going to be talking about a few things today. Again, my name is Dr. K.O. Rich for Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Yes, they do. But before we go on with today's podcast, I would like to invite you to visit us on our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Again, that website address is www.narcabusenomore.org. And on our website, you find valuable information regarding narcissism, relationships, and if you have missed any of these podcasts, all you have to do is go directly to our website. Now, just to let you know, we are on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, and that is on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, Castbox, and Deezer. We're also on Amazon Audible, Rumble, Brighteon, and the Tube. That's right, we're on YouTube. So you have a variety of different platforms to listen to us from, and if all else fails, all you have to do is go directly to our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Now, I just want to let my SoundCloud listeners know that we are on the free version on SoundCloud. However, due to us being on the free version, which means we can only upload so many podcasts, you may want to also subscribe to another one, such as YouTube, for example, just to ensure that you always get these podcasts whenever they are aired. Or if you want to go back during your own time, listen to them where you won't miss out on any, you can subscribe to another platform that hosts this podcast, or you can go directly again to the website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Oh, this is the first day of May. I have a birthday in 20 days. Lord willing, I'll be 48. Woo, that time is passing by fast. I'll be 48. Oh, I'm looking at 50 in the face, but guess what? I look forward to it. I actually look forward. You know what? When I turn 40, I haven't turned 50 yet. But when I turned 40, I looked at it as just another milestone to say, wow, I've put all those younger things behind me. When you're in your 20s and even in your 30s or whatever. But it was like, okay, now you're really just growing into yourself, knowing yourself. That means that, hey, at 40, I was like, it's just a lot of things that I dealt with in the past that I wasn't going to deal with in my 40s, and I haven't. I have not. And so I look forward to, Lord willing, moving into that age of 50 and beyond or whatever. Some people, they fear getting older, but I don't. I look at it as that we all have had experiences, and if you're alive, that means God brought you through those experiences, and then hopefully, you've learned from those experiences. I know how I have. I've learned from those experiences. So yes, I have a birthday in 20 days. And for those of you who want to send me some gifts, I am open to receive. I'm going to even give you my cash app. If you have been touched and blessed and have learned a lot from this podcast, I'm giving my cash app. That's right. You can cash app me. You think I'm playing? I'm telling y'all, okay? Some of y'all have done that before for me, and I appreciate it. I'm giving you my birthday cash app, okay? It is $Evangelist 1975. Again, that's the $Evangelist EVANGELIST 1975. Make sure you are doing it to the right person, okay? Again, I'm giving you my cash out for my birthday, okay? For any of y'all who have, when you've been blessed, you say, you know what? I'm gonna bless her for her birthday. I am receiving it. My cash app is, okay, $ evangelist, that's EVANGELIST 1975. Now, just to let y'all know, because you know what, I don't play with the Lord. This will be for my birthday, okay, me personally. So if you want to give it to me personally, all right, because I don't use the funds for God in an inappropriate way. So if someone donates to the ministry, that's strictly for the ministry. But if someone say, hey, this is for you, okay, then that's for me. So if you want to do that, you're more than welcome. I am open to receiving. Hey, if somebody wants to send me that Chanel number 5 I've been waiting for, come on now, come on. Oh, goodness gracious. But you know what, it's always a blessing to get older when God allows you to make it to another year. And I pray that you all are being blessed as well, because it's so many people did not make it to this year. However, if you are one of the blessed ones to have made it thus far, then hey, praise God for it. All right, so what are we talking about today? We are talking about trauma bonding. Trauma bonding. So many people are in unhealthy relationships because they have trauma bonded with the individual that they were not supposed to bond with. So today we're talking about 11 signs of trauma bonding and how to break free from this unhealthy cycle. And as always, I love to give you a website where you can get this valuable information, www.yourtango.com, www.yourtango.com. So today we're talking about trauma bonding. And what is trauma bonding? Basically, when you bond with an individual, normally it's normally something that's healthy for people that are we talk about for establishing good relationships, healthy relationships. So it's normally someone that you have something in common with, somebody that you share maybe experiences with, ideas with. You bond with that person. It reminds me of this text in the Bible that in Amos 3 verse 3, how can two walk together unless they have agreed to do so? So bonding with people is a natural thing. It's natural for us to want to bond with people that we have things in common with. If you go to a church, you probably have bonded with the members of that church, the people there. If not all of them, many people that you find things in common with. You might go to movies together or have Bible study together in your homes, or whatever the case may be. You might have bonded with someone on your job. You say, you know what, we got a lot of things in common, and this is somebody you talk to maybe even outside of the job. If you're in school, you may have found some friends that say, hey, I like this individual. We have a lot in common. We might study together or whatever the case may be. So we have bonded. So that is a human thing to do, is to bond with others. No one was created to be on an island by themselves, okay? So it is so great to be able to bond with other people. You may have bonded with somebody that's on social media. You might have been friends for a while on social media, and then you decide to take it to that next level, and you may be calling each other, contacting each other, talk on the phone, send Christmas cards or whatever the case may be, and you've bonded over social media, even though you may not have even met in person. And some of you may have met that person on social media, and you may maybe have been in the same area, or you might have decided where, hey, we're going to meet up at this particular event. So bonding is very, very it makes us who we are as humans. Even animals bond. You might bond with your animal. I know I have a German Shepherd. I often talk about her. Her name is Taffy, and I have bonded with Taffy like I have no other dog. Okay, I've had a dog before, but Taffy is she's special. Okay, I have really bonded with Taffy as well as my cats. Okay, so it's natural to bond. However, there are some bonds that should not be. There are some bonds that need to be broken, and those are those that are when you're talking about trauma bonding. I'm not talking about in the sense where you all may have gone through some things and you may have bonded through that trauma. For example, you may be a soldier. You may have bonded with someone while you were over in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever case may be, and you all were dealing with bombs and different things that was landing in places, and you all formed a bond because you all had to stick together or whatever case may be. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the unhealthy bonding. Some people bond through abuse. Some people bond through childhood experiences. Some people bond through drugs, through alcohol. These are your buddies that you have bonded with. You smoking together. You're shooting up together. That is an unhealthy bond. And so when you're dealing with this type of attachment, you're dealing with toxic, unhealthy relationships. You may be with someone, or rather it's a friendship, rather it's a relationship, intimate relationship, and you're in this relationship because you all have bonded over the wrong thing. So what happens is that when you bond with this individual, and it's often when you're dealing with a relationship that is abusive, the trauma bond, it tends to strengthen unless you break the cycle of abuse. I've talked about when you come to Stockholm syndrome. I've talked about this over the years, and I don't remember the exact date. I think this was like 1960s or 70s, somewhere in there. I have to go back over this a little bit, but basically when you talk about Stockholm, there was a bank robbery in Stockholm. I think it's in, where is it at? London or whatever. I can't remember the location, but somewhere over in that area. And the thing what happened was, it was these bank robbers who robbed this bank, and it was in Stockholm, and so therefore they had the people that was there captive. And I don't know how long this went on. I don't know if it was a period of days or whatever, but it was some time. During that time when the robbers had these people captive, they formed the unhealthy bond. Talking about the captives, they formed the unhealthy bond with their captives, with their captors rather, because any kind of little act of kindness that the captors showed to them, then they formed a bond with them. The captors told them maybe their childhood stories and the hardships they had growing up and all these things. So what happened was, after the release of these captors, when it finally came to an end, the police were having a hard time getting any of the captives, the people that were held captive in the bank. They were having, or should I say held hostage, they were having a hard time getting those who were held hostage to say anything against their captors. And why was this? Because they had formed a bond. The police were scratching their head because they didn't understand it. And so that's where the term Stockholm syndrome derived from, was when psychologists told them what took place was these people had formed this emotional bond with them based upon the experiences, them sympathizing or empathizing more or less with what the captors had gone, with what the captors have gone through. So despite the hostages being held against their will, any little act of kindness, like letting the captor or letting the hostage go to the bathroom, or ordering, telling the police to bring some pizza so they can eat, or say they took any little act of kindness as basically a term of endearment, should I say. So basically, as long as they were kind to them, and then they were listening to the stories that they had to tell, so they were empathizing. And let me just say this. It's one thing, it's okay to empathize with others. However, it does not give anyone the right to abuse you. So what took place was these captors had held these hostages, and but the thing was is that these people never would have been hostages if it hadn't been for these captors taking them as hostage. That means that you can empathize with someone with what they went through, but it does not give them the right to abuse, neglect, break the law, whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, we're living in a society where people are making excuses for wrong. They're saying, "Oh, well, this one went through this and they went through that and this is why." And yeah, you can understand all the dynamics of all of that. But at the end of the day, we all have choices. We all have choices that we have to make. So sometimes you're not going to you're not going to be able to use that as an excuse as to why you have you are displaying certain acts of violence or abuse or whatever the case may be, because it's inexcusable. We all have choices. That means that even though you may have gone through some things, it doesn't mean that you have the right to take it out on others or the right to be abusive or demeaning to other people. And this is what a victim of abuse or someone who has been in a toxic relationship have to realize, is that one person's bad experience in life does not give them the right to do it to you or to hurt you or to make you feel as if you deserve to be handled in such a manner. And you can only do that if you know your worth. So I want to give 11 signs of trauma bonding that you can recognize and tell you how to break free from that. And number one is, you know someone is not healthy for you, but you keep going back. Let me repeat that. You know someone is bad for you. They're unhealthy for you, but you keep returning. It's like a dog going back to its vomit, as the Bible talks about. You know something is not good, all right, but you keep going back to it, and you find yourself being drawn back into that relationship with that individual that you know is unhealthy for you. And so many people do this. Many of us have been guilty of that. Is that we've gone and you know this person is not good for you, but you keep going back, you keep going back, keep going back. And you don't know why you're doing it, but you are doing it. You want to leave the relationship. Every weekend you're saying, I'm breaking up, I'm cutting ties or whatever, but you keep going back. Many people have found themselves in this type of relationship. Number two, you have a fear of cutting them out of your life. It causes you emotional distress. I want to read you something before we go on. Someone had written this on a social media platform, and actually I think I just lost it. I'm going to have to go back to it. But this person was I'm gonna go back and find this, because I think it would be important and valuable for you all. Okay, I just found it, and I want to read this to you, because what it lets you know is people of any age can go through this type of trauma bonding, or just go through emotions when it comes to even letting go of someone that hurt them. So the fear of cutting them out causes emotional distress. And I want to read this to you. She says, "Hi." I'm not going to say her real name, but I'm gonna swap her name out. Hi, everyone. My name is Susan. I lived with and loved a covert narcissist for 45 years. I had no idea what a narcissist was until maybe 10 years ago. He discarded me 7 years ago, and yet to this day, I have not gotten a divorce. I probably could ask any question you have on the I probably could answer any question you have on the subject now, but quite frankly don't understand how I still have days my heart hurts so bad that all I want to do is cry. So with that being said, I am asking for your prayers as today is one of those days. Sometimes I feel at 78 I wasted all those years, but no, deep down inside, I really didn't because I have three beautiful girls to show for. I just feel so lonely at times and can't fathom how some human beings can be so cruel. At least when I'm down and out, I know that I can always come to this particular platform and vent to the most bravest people I met. Thank you all for listening. And again, this lady, she's 78 years old, and she has gone through narcissistic abuse, and she has those times when she feels alone, and she cries, and she doesn't understand why she had to go through it. And so many people, they fear cutting someone out of their life. In her case, she hasn't even gotten divorced yet, but they fear cutting people out of their life because of the emotional distress. So you get upset even at the thought of having to leave this person. However, no one wants to break up with anyone. You don't normally go into a relationship saying, oh, okay, I'm going in and then I'm going to break up with this person, or whatever case may be. But the thing we should always understand is that which is worse, to be with someone who abuses you, neglects you, devalues you, belittles you, physically abusive, emotional, verbal abuse, or to say, you know what, I might be by myself, but at least I can do so in peace. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.
Your face is beaming. You say it's 'cause you're dreaming of how good it's going to be. You say you've been around, and now you finally found everything you wanted.
the Heart, and that is by the late James Ingram. I don't have the heart. Alright, so we're still talking about these 11 signs of trauma bonding. And the thing about it is when you understand the signs, when you know the signs, then you can be proactive in ensuring that you don't proceed in trauma bonding. Number 3, you exclude everyone from your relationship. When you have trauma bonded with the person, you will oftentimes exclude others from your relationship. That means that you don't tell anybody anything, you don't let anybody know anything. And I'm not talking about like for a certain business that people don't need to be privy to, but it's the unhealthiness in this type of isolation from others. So you exclude everyone. Normally when you're in a relationship with someone, you want others to get to know them, you hang around people or whatever the case may be, but in this way you don't. We know that abusers often like to isolate their victims just because they don't want others to know the real deal. They don't want others to see the abuse that they are spewing out at their targets. However, when you're also trauma bonding with someone, you don't want others to see that your relationship is really unhealthy. And so therefore, anyone who would say or do anything to what you might feel as a threat to that relationship, then you will tend to keep them at bay. And this often happens with those who are in these types of unhealthy relationships. Number 4, you isolate yourself from anyone who doesn't include the abuser. Now, sometimes when people are in abusive relationships, whether they are around friends, family, or loved ones, they don't want anything to do, or they don't want anything to do with your abuser. So therefore, you want nothing to do with them. If someone says, you know what, I know how he's treating you, I really don't want him around because I don't agree with how he's treating you, then you will become an enemy of that person if you have trauma bonded with them. You may know that that person is really telling the truth. However, because you have trauma bonded with that particular individual, then you will also become, you don't want to be around anyone who excludes that person from their life because of the trauma bond that you have found with that person. Number 5, you worry about things that may upset them. Now, most of us, when we're in relationships, we don't want to upset anyone. We try to make sure that we are having a healthy relationship with that person. So you don't want to do things that would make them angry. Who does? Okay. But when you are dealing with a person who you've trauma bonded with, then sometimes you may walk on eggshells, or you may not be around others as we just mentioned, just because you don't want to upset that individual. You can sometimes walk on these eggshells because you're afraid of whatever bag they're going to come out of, and this is unhealthy. Anytime you have to walk on eggshells around someone, that is not a healthy environment to be in. Number 6, you defend your negative behavior to others. You defend their negative behavior to others. Have you ever seen someone that was in a bad relationship, and what they do is when the other person does something that is socially unacceptable, then that the person who is the trauma bonder, okay, they will make excuses for that person. They'll blame themselves. Well, if I hadn't got him upset, then he wouldn't have drink all that beer, for example. Or if I had to cook dinner correctly, then he wouldn't have thrown the dishes all across the floor. Okay, so they will make excuses for the bad behavior of that other individual when they have trauma bonded with this person. And this is not healthy. This is not healthy. He might belittle you in front of others, and then you'll say, oh, that's just his way of being funny, or that's his personality. No, it's not. There's no excuse for the bad behavior of someone else. We all have choices. Number 7, you know they are abusive and manipulative, but you can't let them go. It's so important to understand when you're in an abusive relationship. You don't like what the abuser is doing, but then you find yourself being bound to this person. You're tied to this person. These are unhealthy soul ties. Some of you, and this is a whole different message. But let me just say it. I'm gonna say it anyway. Some of you have soul ties to unhealthy churches. Come on now. You know that things ain't right at that place, okay? You know that things aren't right with the pastor. You know he's sleeping around with people in the congregation, all that kind of. You know stuff ain't right, but you have formed this soul tie, this unhealthy alliance, okay? This trauma bond. You might say, oh, because he's gone through this and that, it's hard to be a pastor, or whatever. Some of y'all have done that even with your pastors. And so you find that you are in this abusive, manipulative. Let me just say this, because you might say, oh, well, the pastor don't abuse. There's spiritual abuse, okay? Abuse comes in many different forms, whether it's physical, verbal, sexual, financial, spiritual, emotional. There are many different forms of abuse. And so you find yourself that you can't let go. You know it's not healthy. You might be at a work environment. You know it's not healthy there, but you can't let go. And I'm not talking about just for the paycheck. But let me just say this: money is not everything. If you're in an unhealthy work environment, we're gonna talk about that in the upcoming podcast. But if you're in an unhealthy work environment, let me just say this, and it's emotionally straining on you. It's time to uproot. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, not money itself. The love of money is the root of all evil. Don't love the money, the job so much that it's causing you emotional stress. Your health is failing just because you're trying to keep money. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
You can reach me by railway. You can reach me by trailway. You can reach me on an airplane. You can reach me with your mind. You can reach me by caravan. Cross the desert like an errand man. I don't care how you get here, just get here if you can. You can reach me by sailboat, climb a train, swing rope to rope, take a sled and slide down slow into these arms of mine. You can jump on a speedy coat, cross the border in a blaze of road. I don't care how you get here, just get here if you can. There are hills and mountains between us, always something to get over. If I had no way, surely you would be closer. You can make it in a big balloon, but you better make it soon. You can reach me by caravan, cross the desert like an airman. I don't care how you get here, just get here if you can. I don't care, I need you right here, right now. I need you right here, right now, right by my side, yeah, 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 yeah. You can.
Olita Adams, Get Hair. All right, so we're continuing talking about 11 signs of trauma bonding. And where do we leave off at? Number 8, you consider their happiness to be your happiness. You're not independent on your own. You have no sense of your own identity. So as your happiness is all wrapped up in theirs. If they're happy, you're happy. If they're unhappy, you're not happy. And this is not in a healthy sense. This is not where someone is, for example, they may have lost a loved one and you're empathizing with them due to their loss. This is in an unhealthy sense. So your concern with them, with their happiness, takes front stage over and when I say this, I'm not saying this in a narcissistic or a selfish type of way, but their happiness takes center stage beyond yours. So again, this is in the unhealthy sense of trauma bonding. Number 9, you have lost your sense of worth. You don't know your value. You don't have any self-esteem. And oftentimes when people are in these trauma bonding relationships, it's because they don't know their worth. You have been so entangled with this abuser that you have lost your identity. And again, this is one of the signs that you have trauma bonded with this individual. Number 10, you feel invisible in the relationship. Your hopes, your dreams, your wants, your desires don't matter because everything has been all about that person that you have trauma bonded with. So you feel like you're invisible in the relationship, and you often are when you're dealing with a narcissist. You have become invisible because it's all about their needs, their wants, their desires, their wishes, and whatever it is that they want in the relationship, and it's less about you. Last but not least, you view the abuser as your drug. You feel like I can't live without this person. I can't function without this person. You feel like if I leave this person, I'm not going to exist. I'm not going to be able to survive. I'm not going to make it. You are so tied up in this person that you feel like, okay, I gotta have it. It's like a drug. It's like someone that's maybe an addict, maybe to heroin or crack or something. Well, I can't function without this individual because you have trauma bonded. So again, when you're dealing with this type of behavior, you got to break the cycle. That means that when you know that you're in an unhealthy relationship with someone and it's not going anywhere because this relationship is totally toxic, you have to end it. If you're being abused by this person, you being used, misused, devalued, belittled, and all these demeaned, all these things that come when you're in a toxic relationship, then that means that this is not healthy. So, for example, if you're dating someone like this, then it is time to end that relationship. Do not proceed with go. Do not marry this individual if you know that you're in a toxic relationship, because love is not supposed to be toxic. Love is not toxic. People are toxic. And therefore, it can ruin any relationship. And if you proceed when you are in this unhealthy relationship during the dating process, you can guarantee that the marriage is doomed for failure. You may stay in it for X number of years, but it is still failing. So therefore, you might say, okay, I'm dating this person. I'm in this trauma bonding with this person. The only way to do it is to cut ties. Don't proceed with go with that relationship. If you have trauma bonded, you may need to talk to someone to help you to get in touch with your feelings, to help you to not proceed with that negative behavior, that negative cycle of abuse that you may have been experiencing, and join a support group if you need to a support group to help you be strong, because sometimes people are not strong enough by themselves, so therefore they need a community of others to help them to know, you know what, you can do this, you have value, you do not have to settle for less. That's one thing you have to tell yourself is, I'm not going to settle. I may be alone for some time, but I'm not going to settle until I get in the right relationship. And if you find that that relationship that you have been in is not healthy, then it is time to make other decisions, to understand, okay, this is not what's best, so therefore I have to proceed with another form of, how would I put this? Another form of relationships. You know that, know your worth, know your value, know who you are, know that you deserve to be in a healthy relationship. And just because someone has experienced things in life doesn't mean that you have to bond with them. You can empathize from a distance, but it doesn't mean that they have to be in your circle. It doesn't mean that you have to proceed with go and to move forward in that relationship. And it doesn't mean that you need to also stay in an abusive relationship. And let me just say this, because I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care how many pastors or whoever gets mad at me. You do not have to stay in an abusive relationship. If you are married to someone who is abusing you, it is not meant for you to be in an abusive relationship. And so many people are up under the mindset, well, I'm committing the unpardonable sin if I divorce this person who's been physically abusive. So this person who keep going and cheating on me, or whatever case may be. That is wrong. You know, God, the Bible, you know, people quote, well, God hates divorce, but he also hates abuse. Why in the 10 Commandments, you know, he say, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not cheat, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not commit adultery, you know, thou shalt not bear false witness. These are things that's in the 10 Commandments. And so, but people will take out one single scripture and say, okay, God hates divorce. And so therefore, you know, but they don't go into actually studying what, you know, God's character and who God is. God does not want you to be in an abusive relationship. If somebody's knocking you upside your head, do not stay with them. If somebody, it cannot be faithful in that relationship and they're cheating on you, then you know what? Well, let me just say this, because one thing people that are telling others to stay in abusive relationships don't realize is that, let me just talk about the cheating aspect. When a person go and leave the relationship and go and cheat on somebody, they are literally endangering your life. That means that person can go get AIDS, HIV, whatever the case may be, and bring it back to you. And then you're saying, well, I'm gonna stay with this person, but then they're not staying faithful to you. They're not being loyal to you. They're, the Bible also says, why people want to quote the scripture that God hates divorce, and the Bible also says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Okay. It also, says, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands. So it's not just one-sided. It's not one-sided. And therefore, if you find yourself who is acting like a heathen, because when you can't keep it in your pants, or you ladies, you going from place to place, acting like a rolling stone, then you're acting like a heathen. And sadly, you got some pastors that are heathens. Okay, they sleep with their members, they cheating on their spouses. All right, they're doing a lot of different things, abusing their spouses. You deserve better. You don't have to trauma bond with the individual. You might be saying, well, I'm trying to prove something to myself. No, prove something to yourself by not being in that unhealthy relationship. Saying that, you know what, I deserve better. Even if that means that I live alone. That's okay, because it'll be better with me to be in a cardboard box with a canary, okay, than to be with an abusive individual. I want to give you all, before we close, the information to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and that is www.thehotline.org. www.thehotline.org. You can call 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. TTY callers 1-800-787-3224. You can also text the word START to 88788. Again, text the word START to 88788. You deserve better, but you have to tell yourself, you know what, I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and only you can change that, because we teach people how to treat us by what we allow them to do to us. This is Dr. K.O. Rich with Narc Abuse No More, helping you to admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse. Until next time.